Hello everyone. We're going to paint our Love Shack Valentine round today. I have our 16-inch round that I'm going to use white paint on. I'm using the baby wipe method today, which means I just took some white paint, dipped it in with my baby wipe, and I am going to essentially stain my round using paint. I always try and go in a horizontal direction with the grain of my piece. And I don't need to apply it too heavy. The white, of course, doesn't have as much coloration, so you may decide if you use this method with white that you want to do a second coat. Alternatively, you can always use a brush and apply your paint in a normal just paint and fashion. I am just going to get this on my round, and at the end of the video I will place the pieces on here, but I'm going to glue it after the video's over. You can see our posted pictures on our page where you found the link to the video. But if I decide once this is dry that it needs a second coat, I may go ahead and do that. But I do like the stained look. I do that often. So we're gonna get this on here and let it dry while we paint up some other pieces. One of the reasons I like the stain baby wipe method is because it does dry quickly. So when we do projects in class, this is a great option for your paint to dry. If you have a roller at home, you might choose to do your background with a roller with some paint. There are lots of things you can do with your background. You can sand it later on. You can fly speck it with some color. That's easy to do with a stiff paintbrush or an old toothbrush. A little bit of watered down paint. There is quite a bit of wood grain on this piece, so I may add a little more. I'm gonna set that aside and bring in my pieces. Prior to starting the video, I did coat my bottom half of my round with red, as well as the door for my little house. So those are done. I did the shutters and the little tree in my teal. I love that color with red. I have my welcome to the love already painted in the graphite, which is your dark charcoal or soft black. And I have a few other pieces I'm gonna finish up here with you. When I do my wood pieces, my 3D pieces, I like to use my foam brush on its side. You can also use one of the makeup wedges that we include in your kit. Regardless of what you use, you want to make sure that you use minimal paint. You're using a small amount of paint. I'm scraping it off on the side of my paint cup, and I'm just going up and down. I'm just tapping up and down with it to kind of keep my edges clean. Now, of course, you can't see it with this color. I'm gonna turn it around. I'm just using my fingernail to hold on to it. And I'm just tapping the rest of my piece. Blacks and browns and navies don't really show on the edges, but I'm gonna show you here with my white piece. I did this one already, just with a solid coat of white. You can see my edges are nice and clean because I went with that up and down motion. If I go side to side, it ends up dripping down my edges, which you can clean off with a baby wipe, but it's just, I find it much easier to do it up and down. I'll show you here with this other piece. Again, I'm getting a little bit of white paint. I'm wiping off the excess on my cup, so I don't have that much on my brush. I'm using the side of the brush and I'm tapping up and down. So I'm doing the little fence piece here with my white, turn it around. I'm just holding it with my fingernail and and just up and down, whether you're using the side of the foam brush or you're using one of the makeup wedges, or you might have some other types of sponges at home, whatever works for you. I don't use regular paint brushes for this because it definitely gets down on your edges. So there, I've got my white nice and clean. My last piece here is my little house, and I want it to be pink. So I'm gonna go ahead and take some of my white paint. Now you could definitely mix it on a paper plate or on your scrap paper. I'm just grabbing myself some of that white. I'm gonna dip down and grab a little red, and I'm just gonna do a little mixture here for my pink, and I like that. This is a fairly large piece, so you definitely could brush back and forth, but when you get to your edges, you wanna make sure that you're not dripping down. I'm gonna go back to my little up and down method here now that I have my paint mixed up. And might need a little bit more. I think we might be okay. I don't need to do the roof, it's gonna be covered. So let me see, I think I've got enough pink here. Your shade of pink can vary depending on how much you mix together. You always want to start with your white and add in a little bit of your other color. It's a lot harder to go the other direction if you start with your red or a dark shade and then you go to add your white. You're going to need an awful lot of white to make your transition into your more lighter pastel shade. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that pink. You could do these in alternate options. You do not have to do what I just did. You also can use some color to add on to other parts of your project. I have a little pink left on my brush. I can do a little wiping across my door just to give it a little bit of some character here. It's a very dry brush. There's hardly any paint left on there. I'm just swiping it across my piece a little bit. I could also do that on my bottom, and I might play with it once I get it glued together. I can also take some color here, and I'm gonna mix up a little wee bit more pink. I can take some color and add some dimension to my roof as well. You know, it could be to give it kind of like some shingle look. You can just play with it. You can do some cross hatching across it. I kind of like that better. I might play with this a little bit to get it to be the way I like. But yeah, you can add some shading on your house however you would like it to be. Okay, so that's the basic gist of all of our pieces. I think before I glue, I may add a second coat to that. You'll see in the final pictures what we decide to add to it. I am gonna share with you our hanging mechanism. If you've never done one of our kits before, then you may not have used one of these. So I flipped it over. I made sure I found my center of my piece. We have these little hanging attachments for you that have your twine in them. Yours will say handmade by me, and we're gonna glue that right up here to the top. So we'll take our super glue, and when you get your super glue, you're gonna see there's a little knob on there that you can puncture where the tube is still sealed, and then you can carefully put your top back on. Anytime you're using super glue, you want to make sure that you're being careful so that it's not getting on your skin. I put more on my hanger than I do on my other pieces. We get a little extra on here because we want to make sure it's thoroughly attached. I would never put that much on all my pieces. I use little dots. So we're going to hold the twine out, and we're going to just attach this to the top back of our piece. This particular one does not have any bow or ribbon or greenery, so it does not have to, we don't have to be aware of where it's going to be later on, so that we can staple in other attachments. When I do have one with bow or greenery, I always put this up at the very top as far as I can. And you can adjust this and have your hanger be as long or short as you need it to be. All right, so I am going to decide on my placement here. My little heart grid goes on the bottom. I'm gonna add my house here and cute little picket fence, my door, my roof, got my little tree here, definitely some cute little shutters. There we go. Love Shack. Everybody knows that song, right? Welcome to the Love Shack, baby, right? Super cute. I love this one. I will decide on my background and get it all glued up for you, and then you can see our finished posted pictures on our page. Thanks for joining me.